makes people cringe a little bit and not want to do it. I kind of always refer to it as if you're wanting to get like on a weight loss plan or some type of health plan, you know, it's extremely hard to do. We don't really want to talk about it or follow through with it. It's extremely hard. So I always try to think of it maybe as your financial footprint. And some of the stuff you guys, you might know, but it's always good for me to do these presentations as well, because it always just kind of reminds me of, okay, maybe I should follow this path or do this or stay course. Because when we don't touch on these topics a lot, even though we know maybe how to do those, we get off track and we don't follow this a lot. But I'm going to show you, or just talk through a couple things, and then I'm going to get on to our website, our education website, because there's a lot of helpful tools there. And it might be one that you're familiar with, maybe not. I was very unfamiliar with it, didn't even know really that the bank had it, this type of website with these tools, until I came over to Retirement Wealth Services and did that. So I want to show you everybody there. The biggest thing that I think about when it's budgeting is just really just figuring out where your money goes. I think when you hear the word budgeting, everyone thinks, okay, I need to cut back on expenses, I can't go do this, I can't go do this, I can't spend money here, I basically can't do anything. And that typically I would find is probably not the case. It's just really kind of figuring out, like here I said, where's your money going? Where are you spending most of your money? Where's it going? And then really how much are we possibly saving in a month's time, and maybe what can we do with that extra savings? So just trying to flip the mindset on that a little bit. So I just throw that picture there, yeah, are we just literally just throwing money down the toilet thinking we have an idea of where it's going, but actually we don't. And so, of course, here are just a lot of the monthly expenses that we go through, and we break those up, as a lot of you probably know, fixed, periodic, flexible. The reason why we bring these up is because when we're thinking about budgeting, if I have to go home, it's going to take me hours to be able to do this. It really is probably not. If we take a look just at the fixed expenses right away, you could probably come up with your head within about 30 seconds or a minute what all your fixed expenses are in a month. Easily, as far as maybe your house payment, student loans, credit cards, car payments, whatever those might be. We basically already know what those are, so it doesn't take us a whole lot of time to put those down on paper or an Excel spreadsheet and try to figure that out. The second one is definitely going to be the periodic expenses. These are always fun coming up as far as car licenses. I know I have mine coming up in February, and then that's the same time my insurance again comes in, so that's just an added expense that I normally sometimes don't think about. Sometimes it comes in handy if I can get my taxes done early, because then I get the tax return to be able to pay for a lot of that stuff. But that's always kind of one to kind of think about. Car repairs, if you have those, household maintenance, some things like that. There's things that are going to go wrong that you kind of want to plan for and be able to do that. And these, I would say, probably the PR expenses are the hardest to try to really budget for, because you don't know exactly when they're going to happen. You don't know when your car is going to break down or when it's really going to need new tires. Household maintenance, you don't know when the dishwasher or whatever light fixture goes out. So these are some of the harder ones to really try to plan for. But if you would allocate those somehow into your budgets, they definitely come in handy. And then the flexible expenses are the ones, again, that vary all the time, and it probably gets underestimated the most as well. As far as gas, utilities, we maybe have a fairly good idea of how much gas we are spending within a month, what our utility bills are. Your cable might be a fixed expense that always, normally doesn't change a whole lot. Vacations, entertainment, groceries, those types of things. Some of them might be fairly close on a monthly basis, but maybe they might change a little bit. I would say the entertainment one, especially for me, gets underestimated all the time. And the biggest thing is, what do I want to include in entertainment? Is that just going to the movies? Is it going to say a concert? Is it going out to eat, dinner? What do I want to classify it as entertainment? And so when we're thinking about budgeting and trying to figure out where our money is going, that's probably one of the biggest things I think that can go in maybe 6, 7 different categories, or we can group it all into one. And And there's a tool online that I'll show you later to maybe help us with that, but I think that one probably gets underestimated the most because we might think, oh, I'm going to allocate maybe $250 to my entertainment budget. A lot of us probably go out to eat maybe once, twice a week. And if there's just you and someone else, you could probably rack up pretty close to a $40, $50 bill just with two people for one night out. Just in eating, that isn't, so if you do that once a week, you're already about at your $250 just eating out. So what other entertainment expenses are you doing? I haven't been to the movies in a long time. Last time I went, I was just surprised on how much it costs to go, and I want to go to see some movies that are coming up here soon. Well, what is anybody? What's it like? Is it $12, $10?
Tuesdays.
How much?
Tuesdays, $5.
Tuesdays. Go on Tuesdays. But I
But I
mean,
just went on Monday, and it was $9.50 for my ticket, and then, yeah, $12 for popcorn and pop.
Oh, wow.
popcorn and pop, right?
With more, yeah, with more than.
You can go get a 2 liter for about $2 and popcorn for about $2. Yeah, so it's crazy just to go out to the movies these days. But again, like I said, the entertainment one is probably the one I think it's underestimated, also one we probably need to think about as well. So getting through all that, when we put this all together, we definitely want to know where our income's coming from. And again, pretty easy. We might just have one income source, which is coming from work. If we have anything else coming in too, we always definitely want to include those in as far as determining what our income is. And then going through a budget, we kind of usually will recommend maybe looking back at least 3 months. And again, a big reason for that is because maybe a lot of those flexible payments that are going to change. You might have maybe a periodic expense here. Your flexible accounts are going to change. So if you go back in 3 months, you probably get a pretty good idea of where your money is going instead of just 1 month, because maybe 1 month was just a fluke month, or you had your vacation in there, or something that happened. So if you go back at least 3 months, bank statements, credit cards, you'll get a pretty good idea of what your habits are, of where your money is going, and what you're doing with it, and then really get how much you're spending in each different category. So the 3 month thing is really nice to have as you kind of go through. And then, of course, always tracking your expenses, setting up a budget using mobile apps. You can probably do an easy dozen apps on your phone as far as different ones to go off of. And was probably one of the most popular ones that you can do. And of course, you can get alerts. They'll send you alerts if you're overspending in certain areas. I had a couple different apps a while back on my phone that I was using just to try to get comfortable with them and kind of see, which one would be better, which one do I like. And I deleted a lot of them because they all send you emails or some type of alerts, and so I'm always getting different alerts for a lot of different things. So I would recommend just sticking with one, otherwise you're going to get really annoyed with a lot of stuff. But those usually kind of help out, and it really kind of depends on what's going to work for you. Do you like getting those? Do you not? I didn't, so I just kind of wanted to do away with those. It's really kind of whatever works for you. Checking your accounts maybe weekly, and I'll touch bases on that a little bit, and of course sending reminders on there. But that's just kind of going through really as far as constructing a budget, maybe some things that when we go out to talk to participants that are maybe really struggling with that, there's a couple things to kind of sit down and do. And so as far as determining your financial goals, one thing to remember, and it'll be on the other slide here, is it's going to be different for everybody, whatever your financial goal, what you want that to be. A couple things that we always do is starting out small, and probably a lot of you have heard you want to have anywhere between 3 and 6 months of expenses saved up into a rainy day fund. Well, how am I going to be able to do 3 months of expenses? Say my house payment's $800, car payment's $300, so I'm already $1,100 there. Utilities, I'm up to $1,500, whatever, $2,000 in 1 month. How am I going to be able to save for that? We always say start small. And usually that's the easiest way to do that. Maybe you, for 1 month, you save maybe like your gas bill for 1 month, and the next month you do that again, and then after 3 months you have 3 months of gas bills saved up. and then you kind of work on your car, or however you want to do that. That's usually probably one of the easier ways to be able to do that, because otherwise if we think about 3 months of expenses, how hard is that? And who really wants to go through that and try to track? It's almost deflating to be able to think about how much that actually is. And it doesn't make you want to do it. That'd be like, I'm using the workout reference. Someone says, you need to lose 50 pounds in 1 month. It's like, well, it's not really realistic to be able to do that. So you kind of want to start small, in small steps. One way to do that is to be smart, and we talk about SMART goals, being specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, timely. And one of the big things is really just write those down. We want those financial goals to be, again, is it just getting your utility bills saved up for a little bit, what type of goal do you want to have? And then as far as different examples, paying off credit cards by September 30th, maybe already done that. Not add to credit card balance, so that's probably one of the hardest things for a lot of us to do. I only use one credit card because if I get multiple ones, I think I'll lose track of them. Get the email notifications, but did I remember to pay this one? Did I remember to do that? So I usually just try to stick with one, so I know exactly what that balance is at the end of each month. Did I overspend? Did I save a little bit? That's one of the big things for me. Again, whatever you want your financial goals to be, but if you usually write them down, or if you have them like on your fridge or somewhere, the big thing is if you see it every day, every other day, once a week, you're more apt to actually follow through with it. And then instead of saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do this month, and then you never see your goal, and you never get that reminder on that. And like we always tell people too, it takes time to be able to do this. If you want to pay off a $1,000 credit card payment, you're not going to be able to do it in 1 month. You might be able to do it in 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Same thing with building that 3 to 6 month rainy day accounts. You're not going to be able to do it in 3 months. You're not going to be able to do it in 6 months. It's going to take time on that. So try not to get discouraged as much as possible. And also, as far as, like I mentioned, everyone has their own. It's off a little bit, that screen. That does say success, financial success on there. Like I said, determine what you want for you. You can do short, long-term goals. Because for us, when we always go out and do those, again, we're talking retirement plans, so that's a long-term goal that we always try to talk about. Talking with friends on that, and try not to repeat the same mistakes. Talking with friends, ones I actually did, because I was just curious, because I wanted to maybe do some international travel, so I talked to a friend of mine on how, because I went to his house, and him and his wife, they have a world map up there, and they got pins and strings and wherever, all the places that they were. I was like, well, how do you plan this? How do you do this going forward? He says what they do, they will book their trip, plan about 6 months ahead of time. And then so they pay for it now. And so over the next 6 months, they basically save a certain amount of money and then allocate that towards kind of expenses that they always spend. So that's how they kind of do that. Because I kind of think of, well, I'm going to plan this, I'm going to spend all this money, and then I'm just going to go maybe my normal course down the way. Like, how do you actually plan for this, or how do you save for 6 months and then plan, like take this trip a couple of weeks from then? They always plan about 6 months ahead of time and then cut back on things in different areas. So when they get to that trip, they know it's already paid for. They basically already saved for all this. So whatever money that they want to spend on that trip is just kind of extra free cash for them. So just different ideas. If you ever come across something, I think it's always helpful talking with different people on how to do that. And then budgeting tips. Of course, living within your means. We all understand that. We all know that. Consider bigger purchases for at least 24 hours. Sleep on it. Prioritize. Know what your weaknesses are. I knew what my weakness was about a month ago, and I still did it anyways. The whole time I'm thinking, do I really need this? Do I really need this? We run into things like that all the time. Now, I knew if I didn't go shopping, I wouldn't have bought everything. When I was out, I was just going to go look, and I ended up buying some stuff. but like, and the thing was, I was in Omaha, and most likely if I would've came back to Lincoln, there's a really, really, really good chance that I wasn't gonna go back to Omaha and buy the same thing. So it's one of those things, it's those impulse buys that we really gotta try to avoid as much as possible, kind of think, okay, and really kind of sleep on it or just leave, which is the hardest part, to do a lot of that. But, you know, like I said, most likely I wasn't gonna go run back to Omaha and buy the same thing that I really wanted at that time. Even if it was in Lincoln, even if I was maybe, I live on the south side of town, I don't make it to the north side of town very often. So like if there's new stuff going up there, I haven't noticed it. Even if there was something on the north side of town at a store or whatever, if I came back home, there's probably a really good chance I wasn't going to make it all the way back up there for at least maybe a couple months on there. So it's kind of just seeing what kind of position that you're in. Again, at the end there, we always pay yourself first. Retirement fund, we push that all the time on our presentations. And then, of course, the emergency fund that we talked about as well. And then, continuing your budget, revise weekly, and all that stuff, like I mentioned, because every month is not going to definitely be the same. It's never going to be perfect. Situations change, pay raise, new position, family changes, pay off some debts, a lot of things like that. Always helpful. So you always kind of want to redo that. So if you're paying off debts, then you have extra money maybe to put elsewhere on there too. And then as far as, this is kind of the last thing to touch on when we're talking about the payments, this is just really breaking down the credit score of how it's broken out as far as how it affects it. And this is really kind of what we focus on when we go out and talk to companies and employees, just because maybe we don't have an idea of what our actual credit score is a part of. So your payment history based, if you're just paying it on time, is 35% of your score. Seems fairly easy for a lot of us. Again, one reason why me personally only like to use one credit card, because if I forget, I know I'm going to be really, really upset that I got a bad mark on my credit score on there. So I always like to do one. Then the debt to credit ratio. If I have a $10,000 credit limit, how close am I to that each month? Do I usually carry a $3,000 balance or $8,000 balance each month? What type of balance do I have? The lower, if you're 30% or lower, is kind of what they kind of recommend. Maybe it's going to be a good mark for your credit score. Length credit score, any new credits, and as you see there, the other. So the big portion is just how much credit limit are you using, and then of course your payment history is kind of affects that. So here's our education website that I'm going to touch on real quickly. Kind of show you some different retirement calculators that we have on there too, and then tools and news. But one thing that I find helpful for me as far as doing a budget, you saw in one of the slides earlier, it talks about maybe reviewing that on a weekly basis. That really helps me out because when I figure, especially for my credit card, when I put things on there, I want to try to keep it under a certain balance each month. So I know I'm able to maintain that. If I would not look at it for a while and say I'm 3 months in and I want to go buy something, I might forget something that I bought in the very first week of that particular monthly cycle that I'm on. So I like to do it weekly. If I can get by 1 week of not really spending anything that I don't need, then I go to the next week. If I really don't spend anything either, I know I'm making pretty good progress. So just in case something comes up in the last 2 weeks of, say, that month, I know I have a little bit of wiggle room there. Because if I wouldn't follow weekly, I'll probably get to that third or fourth week and think back and say, well, I remember doing this, I remember buying this. I think I'm okay, but there's probably a lot of stuff that we just forget about because it's 2-3 weeks ago. So going on a kind of a monthly budget, a little bit for me, helps me out the most. Then I feel better once I get to that third or fourth week about really how much I've spent on it. It kind of helps me stay in track. So I think the weekly thing of kind of remembering, okay, how much did I spend? If I spent this much now, I really want to take it easy this week. Just kind of keeps things a little bit in perspective because we do get really busy and there's a lot of things that we do purchase within a month and there's a lot of things that we're forgetting as well. Any questions before I get to the websites? I'll show you guys a few things. again, this was something that I didn't know that was available to us. I do have handouts here that have have the website address on there. I didn't print out a ton, of course. As we all know, trying to save paper, and we all work at the bank, so we can all go to the bank website and get there. Everybody is probably very familiar with unionbank.com, the main website. I rarely go to our main website because I'm always on our education one. So I'm going to show you where you navigate to go to our spot. You just go to, over on the right, investing in retirement, and then go down to retirement plan services. And then this is the website I'm on about 99% of the time. Over on the left, we have our retirement education center. And then this is where we have, of course, retirement education type stuff, tools, but we also have personal budget because all that plays into retirement planning when we're going through there. A couple things I'm going to show you under the retirement calculators. We have this home budget analysis. Actually, I'm going to grab. But as you can see, there's a lot of different areas that you can actually input different information as far as cost, what you're going to have. We can go through here. If you want to do monthly, let's just say I have say I do the $3,000 a month gross. You can put other stuff in here if you want. I'm not going to go through it because that's just too tedious for me. Spouse's income. Let's just. My wife makes a lot more than me because I'm working part-time, because I like to be stay-at-home dad. Mortgage payments, we can do whatever. You kind of, get the gist of a lot of this. What it's going to do, it's going to break it down into mortgage, utilities, food, insurance, home, medical, children, like a lot of this stuff. I'll expand these a little bit more. So you can do, like I said, you can add gas into here, donations, religious donations, home type stuff, gift expenses. So there's a lot of different areas that you can input money here. Again, this is kind of creating your budget. But what's really nice is this is where we find out where our money's going. How much of a percentage of all my take-home pay is going to my mortgage, utilities, food expenses, and all that. So we can kind of figure out, again, am I spending a lot in different areas that I don't need to, and can I cut back on that? Where's that at? So I think this is a really good one, kind of, because we can all put numbers in, but sometimes seeing it as a pie chart or a percentage of what we make, I think flips it a little bit easier for us to understand than just saying, okay, well, that's $700 what I make. Normally don't go through that and say, well, that's 30% of my take-home pay. So that's that home budget analysis that we have on there. We have a net worth one if you know if you're at net worth. Snowball debt eliminator. So this is where, if you have multiple credit cards and you want to pay those off early, or allocate more money to one credit card or another, that's where you'd be able to do this. And you can just adjust the payments. So it'll tell you, my minimum payment is $35 a month. If I increase it to $50, how much quicker I'd be able to pay that credit card off. And then I would be able to add, definitely additional credit cards if I wanted to, different balances, interest rates. It'll calculate all that for you and kind of let you know if you stay at where you're at, tell how long it take. If you add into more money to something, it takes it off sooner. So just a little thing. And again, there's different thoughts with paying off multiple debts. You start with the one with the lowest balance, and then pay that off early, and take that extra money and put it towards your next lowest balance, and that snowball effect that we all hear of. Or do you start with the one that pays or that has the most interest? Because you're paying most on that, pay the one with most interest off, and then go down from there. There's a couple different thoughts on how you want to do it. It's the snowball one where you're paying off a smaller balance before any of the other ones. just helps us see the accomplishment that we've had and that feel-good feeling that we want to have, and it kind of gives you a little bit more motivation to go. But we have a calculator here, and it has credit cards on there. Again, you know, auto loans too, so it doesn't have to be just anything. It can be really any type of debt that we have. We'll be able to calculate that for us. And then, let's see, under the tools, you know, a couple different, we have, you know, a budgeting worksheet, so some Excel worksheets, so kind of like what we saw in the home budget analysis, all those different topics or periodic flexible topics that we had on the PowerPoint earlier before, those are all in this budgeting worksheet. And, you know, it's, if you put a number in there, it's going to pre-fill in, so you don't have to do any calculations or anything, so it makes it really easy for us. And it breaks down into very detailed categories, ones maybe that we normally might not think about when we're doing a budget in our head or doing that at home, writing it down. It breaks that down for us, and you put your income in there and kind of see where you're leading. You know, just different net worth worksheets. We have a retirement income and expense worksheet, of course. For people leading up to retirement, what are their different expenses going to be? Personal inventory. This is actually good to have as far as budget as well. It's just not found. We'll work on that. The thing is, marketing does all this, so where are they at? So just, like I said, just a lot of different tools on your personal savings planner, expenses if you don't want to do it, but so there's a lot of tools that we provide to a lot of participants, and they probably see us more because there are participants for our 401k side use this, but it's also available for you to inputs. And I didn't really know there was a lot here for us because we work on one side, we don't see the other side. So again, just under vesting, retirement plan solutions over on the side, and then retirement education center. But a lot of great tools. It's kind of always neat to see, especially with the home budget analysis, where you're at 1 month, and if you do it maybe next quarter, how things possibly have changed. Again, my biggest thing with, again, I hate the word budgeting, but it's just really trying to figure out where your money's going, what are you spending money on, and how much are you saving it, and where can you take that savings and allocate that more. We always try to roll that into increasing people's deferral percentages for retirement, but it could be a lot of different things. It could be, okay, I'm saving this much, I'm already contributing to my retirement account, I have a decent rainy day fund already built up. Where do I want to go on a trip? Where, treat yourself. It's a lot of work to put a budget together and get yourself in a very good financial footing. So it's never a bad idea to go and treat yourself and have a little fun with it, if we're able to do so. We want the experience of being financially sound to be a good thing. I don't want it to be that every day I go home from work I sit and do nothing. That's not the point of it, and that doesn't make things very fun. So, you can always budget for a trip or whatever you want to do that. But, so we just have a lot of tools there, and again, hopefully, this kind of maybe spurs you, inspires you to at least go home and look at it, especially to the holidays. Things are going to get a little crazy. We might balloon certain payments here and there, just because that's that time of year. But if we do go over on certain areas, or we have those certain debts built up more than usual, there's tools out there to help us with that as well, to maybe base down some of that too. Any thoughts, questions? Is there anything, like I mentioned with my friends paying for trips, is there anything that someone maybe uniquely does or plans for, and how do they do that? So I'm just curious to find out. That's okay.
So that portion worksheet, can you save that each?
Yeah. Oh, I'll show you a couple things. So yes. It's just a basic Excel spreadsheet that we
Okay.
created. Now, there might be, some areas there might be duplicate spots, just because it might fall in different categories, but we have those there just so we don't forget about those. But so here is,
Oh,
yeah. So just go through a lot of different areas here. You got it. And like I said, we put them in different areas. Like I said, you might see car insurance license maybe, or in a couple different areas, but we don't want people to forget about those. So yeah, you'd be able to say this to your, whatever you want. Also, we do this home budget analysis. I go through here, up on here, if I click on it, I can have this whole thing emailed to me. Just put in your information in this email so you can always have that too, and have it saved so you kind of know exactly what you used before. This is a new feature that we just recently added maybe within the last 6 months, so you can save all this data in a lot of these calculators here, which is very helpful because there's so much information. It's going to be hard to remember what I did today, and then if I want to do it quarterly, but you can have all this stuff emailed to you if you like, just by clicking on here. That's about all I have. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jack.